Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a clip of a fat activist saying nobody hates fat people more than thin people and people that believe in a body hierarchy. She goes on to say that thin people want fat people to lose weight so they can join them in their misery. We're also going to be taking a look at a bonus clip from Aubrey Hoffer, PhD, talking about how beauty standards are not always based on reproduction or evolution, so be sure to stick around until the end. Also, please be sure to check out the video I released over the weekend on my second channel about pet psychics. Here's a link. Before we proceed, please click the like button so that I may apply comb to mustache.
Do you want to know who hates fat people the most?
Yes.
And it's not just skinny people. Oh,
But it is skinny people. Okay.
no. It is anybody who believes that there is a body hierarchy. In that, the closer that you are to thinness, your proximity to thinness.
Why do they always say that? The one chick recently said, small fats want to get access to thin people. Now we're talking about our proximity to thin. What is this?
Dictates how worthy and deserving you are of just anything.
Okay, so if I'm not thin myself, I can get in the proximity of thin people, and I will get some sort of elevated social status because of this. Okay.
Really. Good things in life. And so what does that mean?
I don't know.
It means that, unfortunately, there are a lot of bigger people who also buy into this idea that there is a body hierarchy in society.
In society. You didn't have to get all soft-spoken on me right there. Use your bedroom voice. Stop being so confident and fearless.
And with that, I'm talking about people or larger-bodied people who pursue weight loss, not for maybe even necessarily themselves, like I saw somebody else say on here, but more so for other people, for the aesthetic.
Yeah, I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Being fat actually physically sucks itself, regardless of how people treat you. Source, I was fat.
Or to be accepted or whatever, what have you. A lot of people like to disguise their pursuit of intentional weight loss as becoming healthier. But
Why would you be healthier if you got rid of the disease of obesity? Are these people idiots?
how can you become healthier if the majority of the ways that we pursue intentional weight loss in society are very much unhealthy or restrictive?
We do it in the healthy way. There are so many unhealthy ways to lose weight. Okay, so don't do any of those. Okay, let's do the healthy one then. I recommend that. I recommend we ignore all the unhealthy ways and we do it the healthy way. There you go. Went ahead and cleared that up for you.
It's not about health at the end of the day.
Yeah, it kind of is.
But again, people who believe that there's a body hierarchy also believe that a thin body equals a healthy body.
Well, a thin body doesn't always equal a healthy body, but an obese body is always an unhealthy body. I can't really tell if you're healthy or not by looking at you if you're thin, but if you're overweight, we can tell that you're not.
And don't leave any room in there for nuance or for fact, quite frankly, because it's not true. So when these people who believe that there is a body hierarchy see fat people who are confident, who are trying to live their life, who are advocating for more representation,
They see them as in denial.
more inclusivity, or more access to things, their only response is going to be to tell fat people to stay in their lane.
I'm not really telling anybody to stay in their lane. I'm just like, why do I need to reform society for you? Why don't you fit into it the way that it is now? Who changed? Was it society or you? That's my question.
To stop complaining, to do something about their weight, and to just accept the way that things are in society. Because that's what they believe, right? This is the body hierarchy, and
the only one that's caught up on the body hierarchy seems to be you.
They believe eventually that hierarchy will benefit them once they become thin.
Or if they're in proximity to thinness, right? I wish you would explain that phrase more.
And if they're not currently thin, they believe that they will gain some form of acceptance by perpetuating the idea of this body hierarchy.
How do you know what anybody's motivations are? Just because you only see value in losing weight to get acceptance from other people doesn't mean that that's everybody else's motivation. I love how much people project because they can't see the world beyond their own issues and beyond their own lens. Since I'm only doing all this stuff for the approval of others, surely that's how you guys operate too. To act like there are no legitimate medical reasons to lose weight is about the silliest nonsense that I've ever heard.
And by telling other fat people to join them in their misery.
Whoa, pump the brakes. What? Okay, so some people believe that the body hierarchy will eventually benefit them once they become thin. They believe that they will gain some form of acceptance by perpetuating the idea of this body hierarchy and by telling other fat people to join them in their misery. Okay, so you think thin people are miserable? Well, they do say that misery loves company. So when somebody loses weight and becomes thin and becomes super miserable because now they can walk and they're getting more respect from society and they can fit into the infrastructure, once they become miserable from all that stuff, they want you to join them. Hey, happy fat friend, come join me in my misery. Wow, dude. Can I have some of that crack that you're smoking? Because it's good, baby. It's real good. I know that you guys are living your best lives and everything, hooked up to those oxygen tubes, but please come join my miserable hike.
Join them in their misery, essentially. And the ironic thing is that they are also harmed by this body hierarchy, but they don't care. Quite frankly, because they are so incredibly desperate for any shred of acceptance or belief that they are one of the good ones, right? That they're a good fatty. Yeah, well, I might be a 1X, but at least I'm not a 3X kind of behavior.
It's funny that you're talking about hierarchies and how small fats want to be higher on the hierarchy. You guys actually flipped it upside down, right? You have the fatness spectrum where the larger you get, the more social currency you have within your movement because you consider yourself more oppressed. So you're literally doing the same exact thing, but you flipped it upside down to help you cope. The normal body hierarchy is the fatter you get, the less social currency you have. With your body hierarchy, the fatter you get, the more social currency you have. Literally doing the same thing.
Right. And the thing that's important to stress about that kind of thinking is that all of these systems are tied together.
I love when she starts talking about systems.
Right, so the idea that there is a body that is more worthy or deserving than others is directly tied to white supremacy, is directly tied to the patriarchy. It's directly tied to the systems in society that oppress other people.
That's true. Therefore, we shouldn't lose weight and live a much healthier, happier life. You're right, because all these systems and stuff, so I guess.
And so by advocating for undoing all of these systems...
Okay, so we shouldn't lose weight. We need to abolish the body hierarchy by undoing all these systems. Gee, it seems a lot easier to just work on ourselves, honestly. Society, the system, the yada 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 did not make us get to this size. Therefore, changing any of those things will not do anything to reduce our size or help our health. It's time to take control of our own lives. The only person that can help you, you don't want to hear this, but is you.
We are advocating for everyone that is harmed under those systems.
You sure you're not just playing the victim of these so-called systems to skirt any sort of personal responsibility? Because it kind of sounds like that.
Including, and not limited to, people in all bodies, right? And so if we advocate for more inclusivity, more representation, more access for larger bodied folks,
then society will be worse off because it will encourage more people to be obese, which is bad for you, so.
For the largest bodies in our society, that will trickle down and benefit other smaller bodies.
No, you're not talking about Ronald Reagan trickle-down freaking economics right now in a fat acceptance video, dude.
In our society. And so on and so forth with dismantling all of the other oppressive systems that currently exist. And to...
Once all the systems are dismantled, then I will be able to touch my toes, okay?
To a point, I understand, because you have to do what you can to survive in the society, right?
Yeah, you gotta eat right, you gotta exercise, you gotta... Oh, other stuff, okay.
And so if that means that you have to think of yourself as better than, as more than somebody else,
I don't think anybody's caught up on that but you.
I could understand that line of thinking. However, in the long run, it's not going to benefit you, because that's not going to undo the negative thoughts and feelings that you have about yourself. And it's not going to help undo all of the oppressive systems.
Like gravity?
That currently exist.
Okay, so I could lose weight and live a much healthier, happier, more mobile life, but that wouldn't do any help to dismantle the systems of oppression. Once again, we're trying to make our personal problems a systemic issue so that we can disconnect from ownership. Next.
One misconception that I often hear perpetuated is this idea that there are evolutionary beauty standards. In other words, the idea that there is some biological beauty standard that all human beings are inherently attracted to. And while I think that we can argue that maybe that's the case for something like facial symmetry, the idea that there's a specific type of body that everyone finds attractive biologically is just false.
So there's a biological reason to be attracted to facial symmetry, but not to a healthy body. Okay.
Beauty standards are and always have been socially derived. Even when we just look at standards for white women, we can see drastic changes in the span of only a few decades.
This doesn't accurately represent beauty standards of the time or anything. This is just a stupid photo.
And even if this was the case, wouldn't a body with more body fat be considered more attractive?
This all seems like a bunch of cope to me, and somebody that's just bitter because they don't fit what they think society considers to be the beauty standard. And they're trying to justify why you should be attracted to this or that instead.
With more body fat be considered more attractive because it would indicate that one has more energy reserves and could probably fulfill a pregnancy?
There's definitely a sweet spot for how much body fat a person has. What was considered fat back then would probably be considered super thin today, so let's also consider that. People are like, back in the day, people were attracted to fat people because it was a sign of prosperity. It meant that you had food. But their idea of fat differed quite a bit from what we consider fat today.
My point here is just that there's no one way that society has ever defined beauty, and there never will be.
Okay, well, it doesn't really matter how society defines beauty. Each person will be attracted to what they want. And there's a difference between having the physique of somebody that has an access to an overabundance of food and somebody that's battling an addiction. So what do you think of the clips that we just saw? Do thin people and people that believe in a body hierarchy hate fat people the most? And are beauty standards completely contrived? Leave a comment below. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Anyway, That about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.